All right, guys, what is going on? Sorry for the lack of uploads. I had a lot of stuff going on this week. But I want to get back on it and upload some new material. So this video, I had a question on my OnlyFans page, a very interesting question that I wanted to attack with this video, and I decided to throw it on YouTube. And he asked me, where's the question at? He said, "What coverage shell do you think is the best against stopping the pass and why?" Okay. And then he said, "I've been a fan of cover two forever, but in this league today, no one runs it anymore. It's such a cover three league." So that's the question I want to attack with this video. And of course, I'm going to have some real life examples and stuff of that nature. So hope you like the video. That question, here's the answer to that question, the short. There is no coverage that just stops the pass, period. Okay, so what do I mean by that? First of all, if you watch my earlier videos, you would know I go by this. There's only six different defensive shell coverages that a defense can run at the end of the day. So if you go through your defensive playbook, you go through all of the plays, I don't care what play you pick, it will fall under one of six different defensive shell coverages, every single one of them. So it's good to think this way because you condense a defensive playbook of, let's say, 500 plays down to six. And it's easier for you to see the field, understand what's going on when you understand this. So the six are, you have double high safety defense and you have a single high safety defense. We'll put a line through here to separate the two. And you have, always remember the sequence, 4-2-2-0 and then 3-1. And the first two, as always, I do two zone and this is two man. Okay, that's it. I don't care what you're running in this game. It falls under one of these six different defensive shell coverages. Now, of course, you may have different things going on internally in the defense. Maybe you call cover two zone, blitz, and it has the nickel coming on a blitz. And I can tell you right now that your corners on the outside will be in soft squat because in cover two zone, where you have a blitz incorporated, it's a trap coverage. It's where you want the corner to read the number two and he will jump any out route or flat pattern by the number two, that sort of thing. There's a reason why certain corners in cover two play soft squat as opposed to clout flat and maybe hard flat and etc. Okay, try not to go off the deep end on something unrelated to video. So, but that's still a two zone shell because on the outer shell of the defense, you got a two deep safety and you have zone principles underneath. It's just in cover two zone trap. They can match into playing man depending on the route distribution of the offense. Okay. So, I'm not trying to get too technical here, but at the end of the day, you can go through your defensive plays and they will fall under one of these six. So these four fall under the double high safety family. These two over here, cover three zone and cover one, fall under the single high safety family. The single high represents, the pre-snap look of the defense. So here on the screen, you can see this is a double high safety defense and this is a cover two man defense, right? So without further ado, which one stops the pass? Well, all of them can stop the pass depending on what the offense is running. What I think you need to understand is every defense has a strength and every defense has a weakness. There is no such thing as a defense that has absolutely no weaknesses. If there was, then you would see that defense in the league 100% of the time. Think about it. These guys, coaches, they're playing with their livelihood on the line. Granted, they are getting millions of dollars, so they're going to run what they believe works. If there is something that stops the pass every single down, you would see it every single down from every team in the league, right? But there is no such thing. That's why you don't see that same defense, every play, right? Now, there are like trends and stuff of that nature where you see a lot of cover two zone in the early 2000s, and then it transitioned more into, now you're seeing a lot more cover three and single high. Now, I guarantee you that's going to end up changing, sooner or later, because it's a copycat league. You copy what works, okay? So what I want to go over, I want to show you some instances where you can kind of get a feel for what I'm saying here. What you need to do, if I know why you asked that question, you're sick and tired of getting thrown on all game, okay? So what you need to understand when you pick a defense, you need to understand the weakness of that defense when you pick it, and you need to understand the strength of that defense. Okay, and you need to understand where you can amplify the strength of that defense and where you can hide the weakness of that defense. Okay, one minor adjustment can change everything in the defense. Okay, so here I wanted to show you an example. This is two man. I'm trying to go all the way back. This is cover two man. And the strength of cover two man against a particular play like this is, everyone's going to be man to man underneath, man to man. He's man to man with his corners, man to man on the outside of the screen. You can't see him. Same with this guy over here. Okay, and because they have two deep half safeties, they're awarded the option, not even the option, they're kind of commanded to in the defense. It dictates that you get to play far more aggressive underneath in man-to-man coverage, and you want to play inside technique on your defenders because you want to play with your help, not against your help. Okay, so because you have deep half over the top help, then you're awarded you can just jump everything inside if you wanted to, right? You're trying to play very hard because if you're wrong, if this guy was running a slant inside and you jump it, well, that's a good thing, right? You play hard, aggressive on it. But if he were to fake that slant and then take it upfield, well, you're not in that bad of a shape because you have help over the top, right? Okay, so here we see the strength here. This guy, if you throw it late, you see how this guy can play hard on that route and jump underneath that route. I forgot what he was running, like a fade stop or something like that. And we run the route again, and you can see how, you throw it late and not on time, the guy's jumping hard inside, right? So, those are just small strengths of that defense against this. However, we need to know the weaknesses of this defense, because when you know the weaknesses of your defenses, you can play the defense better, right? So one weakness of two man is the box. Okay, because you have two deep safeties displaced from the box, okay, you can count the number of defenders you're going to have in the box. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Well, they have 6 blockers. And you may say, wow, yeah, well, you're right. That's 6 on 6. So if everyone just gets hands on their particular assignments, then the back can just find an alley and crease up the field. Well, that's true. But in actuality, it's 6 on 4 in certain runs that transitions into 6 on 6. So it's even more of a disadvantage. What I mean by that is, well, if we were running something like inside zone, you take him, we get a double team here. Okay, maybe we get a double team here. And you block him, right? Well, off the bat, that's 6 on 4, as you hand the ball off. And then it transitions as the play continues. We peel off, one of the guys peel off after securing that defensive tackle, and you take the linebacker, and then you peel off and you pick up. Then it turns into 6 on 6. So you can see how damaging the run can be against a cover 2 man defense in this situation if the offense decides to run something like inside zone, because we get 6 on 4 at the point of attack, and then it transitions into 6 on 6. You can get put into a world of hurt, right? You better have a monster up front. I'm pretty sure some of you have that on your defenses, maybe like with the Packers or the Ravens, where the offense has maybe the tight end, like they run this against a soft box, and you have a monster here at defensive end, and they don't understand that they're running maybe inside zone, and they have their tight end one-on-one with that monster, okay, and he just destroys the tight end and he stops the run, right? That's a certain instance where the play call was the right play call, but they should have gotten the tight end out of there. Had you have just motioned the tight end to this side, even weak side, well, now your tackle will take that guy, and then the whole blocking scheme of the play changes, and they can get back into their strengths. So I'm not going to get into that. Maybe I'll make videos describing the differences between inside zone split, power, all that type of stuff, right? So you can see the weakness of cover 2 man here. One of the weaknesses. Okay, so let's go ahead and play it. I think this was the first run I called in this example. And there you go. You got 15 yards there. I think it was power too. It wasn't inside zone. So here's another weakness of cover 2 man. In cover 2 man, remember we're trying to play inside leverage, inside technique on this corner. Well, just because you're supposed to play inside leverage, it doesn't mean that the wide receiver is completely negated from taking inside. What if you have, a nasty Julio Jones out here, Odell Beckham Jr., right? You know, a really good receiver on even, let's say, maybe an average receiver on a bad corner, right? And all he does is he makes a really good move at the line of scrimmage, fooling you into thinking he's going to climb up field, and he gets you outside, and then he's able to take the inside, and that's something that you were trying to take away. That's the worst thing you can do in while playing two man as a corner, is to give away the inside, because you're trying to take that away because it plays to your defense to take away the inside. So when you give away the inside, it's just wide open. So that's another weakness to the defense if you have matchup problems. So here I get the slant. He did pretty good at the line, but he ended up giving away the inside, and it's just wide open. So, those are just a couple examples where we just understand the weakness of two man when we call it. And you got to keep that in mind when you call the defense. Okay. Here, I had him run like a comeback, and you see how he destroyed him at the line of scrimmage. So this is a matchup issue. That's one of the issues with two man. You can get into matchup issues where you're dealing with a Julio Jones, an elite receiver, and you just have corners who just cannot match up with the guy. You can destroy him at the line of scrimmage, as you see here, and you can see all the space he's creating. And we just throw a comeback pattern over there, and that guy got destroyed in two man. Okay. So, that's just you understanding, okay, I have strengths in cover two man, but I know the weaknesses. Another weakness can be exploited in just a formation. Different formations can create more weaknesses in the defense that you wouldn't have in other defenses. So like bunch can be a problem for two man, right? That may be an instance to where you just do not want to play two man, right? Because you understand the weakness of two man, and you understand that two man is just not a great coverage to run against bunch in most cases, at least in the league. So, here's the reason why. If you watch the replay there, you can see the guy who's defending that in route, he got caught in traffic and he got rubbed a little bit, which, was able to create enough space for the receiver running across the field. So I did go to replay here. Watch him. And right about there, he got caught with this guy, right? So the game really isn't that realistic in that instance, because in real life, he would be way back here on this route. Okay. So that's another weakness. Formations can cause different issues in the defense that you call. You have to understand that, right? So, if you understand that, you may be sitting there waiting for your opponent to call bunch. Well, not call bunch. You're waiting for them to pick his particular formation. And when you see bunch, you just say, well, I'm not playing two man. I can't play two man against that. And then you pick the adequate coverage. Now, you know what? I'm going to show you a clip of the Rams. They were in two man. You can play two man against bunch, but there's certain adjustments that you have to make in fear of getting rubbed and picked off. So I'm going to show you what the Rams did, and this will be a clear indication of why. You'll see what they did, and I'll explain why pretty quickly. Let me show you. All right, guys. So here's the example I want to show you. Up top here, you can see the wide receivers here for the Niners are in a stacked formation. You see how the receivers are stacked here. So, this is real similar to bunch, and how, maybe this receiver will run inside and this guy runs outside. You're afraid of getting picked and rubbed off as defenders. So if you're going to play man-to-man coverage against this, typically teams will play off coverage, and this guy will take the first route that comes inside, and this defender will take the first route that comes outside, right? Okay, so that's so that if I'm locked in on this guy as this corner here, and he runs inside while this guy runs outside, I don't want to run into my man who's trying to run with his guy to the outside. So you eliminate leverage issues by playing this way, in and out type coverage. So that's one of the things you can do against stacked, at least in the league. But one of the issues that happened in this game is that the safety over the top, who's supposed to be playing deep half, which allows the corners underneath to be more aggressive, he played terribly over the top. He played too far to the outside, which allowed the corner, who's obviously going to get soft coverage underneath by the corner, to run like a deep post pattern, which was wide open. So from watching this, you may think that this is the corner's fault. I think it was Jalen Ramsey who was man to man against that post pattern, but it really wasn't his fault. He was playing underneath, expecting help over the top, and his safety left him out to dry. So we'll watch that really quickly.
Rams show blitz. They come with it. Garoppolo firing deep. He's got a man wide open. Sanders has it inside the 12.
And obviously, Jalen Ramsey is very passionate. You could see him if you watch it in replay. He was pissed off. He was pissed at his safety. His safety left him out to dry. Matter of fact, there was an interview after this game where a reporter asked him what happened on that play. And he pretty much said it what it was. He said, I was expecting help and I didn't get it. From what's his name? Taylor Rapp, I think it was. So, he didn't hide anything. He didn't want it to be known that it was his fault. He should have just kept it to himself, but he, pretty much ratted him out to answer the question. All right, so, that's one of the things you want to keep in mind when it comes to when you pick a defensive shell coverage. You got to know the strength of that coverage. You got to know the weaknesses, and you got to know the issues that can arise when a particular player doesn't do what he's supposed to do. So like in the instance with the Niners game where the safety was supposed to be over the top, essentially what he did, they showed a replay later, I didn't show it. He buzzed like way over here to the sideline. Like it made absolutely no sense. He like literally like flew to the sideline as a deep half safety, instead of remaining over the top and being far more disciplined, right? Which allowed the receiver to just run a post pattern and just be wide open because the safety's way over here and Jalen Ramsey was like underneath the route, expecting help over the top, right? So, if in the game, if you're typically the computer will never do something that's stupid, but if you're the user and you jump underneath trying to get all over routes on inside, and like this guy's running a deep pattern while you're playing two man, that route will be wide open over the top because the corner is expecting help over the top and he's playing underneath and inside of that route. Okay, so that's just an instance where you need to understand where you can create weaknesses in your defense because you're not playing discipline, right? There are instances where you can cheat as a deep half safety. So let's say you're using that safety in two man and you see routes like this, then you really don't have to remain over the top. You can buzz inside and look to jump those particular routes because there's nothing climbing over the top there, right? So you got to know where you can cheat. You got to know where you shouldn't cheat, and there's instances where you can cheat despite a route going over the top because your opponent is not good enough to understand that that's where he needs to go. Maybe he's eyeing down receivers inside, that sort of thing, right? So the game is endless in regards to knowing what you can and cannot get away with and etc. Okay. So here I wanted to show you, so we went over, I'm not going to go over every coverage. I just want to give you examples here, two man, 0, and then 3-1. I mean, we went over two man. This is cover 0, and the video glitched out, so I really can't show exactly what I wanted to show. But in cover 0, you're bringing more rushers at the quarterback than what the offense can block. So we're bringing these 6 guys, and let's say that they were sending this back out on like a flat pattern, then you'd be blocking 5, and this guy would be free at the quarterback. No one would be blocking him, and that's one of the strengths of cover 0. You dictate to the offense, no matter what, hey, you have to get rid of the ball. You're not going to be able to just sit in the pocket. You have to get rid of it. That's one of the strengths of cover 0, right? As opposed to playing cover 2 and rushing 4, you're not getting a free rusher. We have enough to block them. So you're going to have to, devise a way to get at the quarterback, scheme your way to get at the quarterback, or just have superior talent and have your, left guard get beat by the under tackle, that sort of thing. But in cover 0, there is no, your guys are better at blocking us. We don't care. It's a numbers game. We're going to bring someone free at the quarterback. So what an offense can do is they can say, okay, well, we will block the back now, right? So now we're blocking all of these guys, right? Well, what the defense can do in that instance, obviously this guy would be in man-to-man coverage with him. He wouldn't be aligned here, obviously. Maybe he'd be more here. When he sees the guy block, well, then he can just replace that and come on a rush as well. So you can't block him. right? Well, you guys bring, wide receiver in, something funky. I'm just giving you a theory here. You bring him in to block that guy. Well, then whoever's assigned to him can now rush. In an instance of coverage zero, the defense can always bring more defenders at the quarterback than what the offense can block. And the reason for that is because the quarterback can never block for himself. So theoretically, you can bring 11 rushers if they're blocking 10. You would never see that, obviously, but I'm just giving you the theory side of it. Okay, so that's one of the strengths of cover zero. And that's where it glitched. I wanted to show you where, we came scot-free at the quarterback. Now, obviously, there's weaknesses to the coverage. If we do block everyone and you don't replace that additional blocker, well, now the middle of the field is wide open, right? Because you don't have a deep middle safety like you would in cover one or cover three. And, at least in cover two, you would have deep half safeties, that sort of thing, right? So you don't have help deep over the middle of the field. And if we block it up, we can go deep on you, deep in the middle of the field. I think I did it here. Let's see. Yeah, I did. So we pick everybody up, and we're able to throw this deep post pattern. And your corners are just not able to defend for that long because they don't have help. And just the simplest of moves can really open up things for the offense. Another weakness can be something as simple as this, the slant game, inside underneath game, right? Because he's in off coverage. Off coverage in this game is horrible, okay? Because when you're playing off coverage in cover zero, you really should be playing aggressively, actually. Sitting flat, reading the quarterback, reading the three-step game. Second you see three-step, you can just get aggressive and jump stuff, right? Because the ball's got to come out quick because you're bringing more than what they can block. And they're in a three-step game because they want to get rid of the ball. So why play, soft and over the top? But in this game, it's horrible, right? So if you ever see this and it's cover zero, the slant's going to be wide open. Pretty much anything underneath, in routes, that sort of thing, drags. But that's one of the weaknesses of cover zero. You can get beat on underneath routes. The ball can come out before that rusher can get to the quarterback, right? So, again, that's just you understanding the weakness and the strength of a particular defensive coverage, right? I want to see what I did here. Okay, I think I went to cover three sky. So, we went 4-2-2-0, 3-1. Went over two-man, and I went over zero. I think this is the last one I did because I don't want to go over every single one. But, there's strengths to cover three zone, obviously, because you get, adequate coverage in the box. You see, before a two-man, you're overloaded on the defensive side. You can never, the offense can always outnumber you in the box, but when you have cover three and cover one called, you add an extra defender in the box, which helps against the run. So that's one of the strengths of cover three and cover one, right? There's other strengths in the passing game, like the deep middle of the field with the safety. Like if we try to throw that post pattern, you have adequate coverage in the deep middle of the field, right? But again, a defensive coverage cannot defend everything. Here's one of the weaknesses of cover three is, at least cover three spot drop, is that you can get overloaded in these zones. Because you're in zone in a spot drop coverage, you can't defend two defenders. So we can create areas where you're forced to make a decision. So like here on the little hitch pattern here, and then we have this pattern over the top, if you decide to jump that pattern underneath, we can fit it in the wide open window that will be open due to you jumping that route. So here we show it here. This is the Salem concept. You see how both defenders kind of jump over that route, and we can hit it over the top. Okay, so that's just you. While you play the defense, you understand the weakness of that defense. So when something like that happens while you're playing that defense, you don't get pissed off when something like that happens. You just understand, okay, he found the weakness, and it is what it is. You move on to the next play. And that play, I tried to do 4 verts, which is a way to attack cover 3 zone, and they did a good job covering the windows in the seams. But we were able to just, when that happens, you dump it off to the back, and you're able to pick up 10, 12 yards, right? So 4 verts is another way to attack cover 3 zone. That's just you understanding the weakness of that coverage. So now I believe I went to cover three match. Let's see. I did. So cover three match is a defense that Nick Saban created. Him and Bill Belichick over the summer after losing to the Steelers in the playoffs. Um, like they wanted to keep eight in the box to defend the run, so they wanted to play cover one man. Nick Saban believes that's the best defense in football. But if you don't have the talent to play man to man on the outside, then you can't play cover one man. So they couldn't do that against the Steelers because the Steelers were superior at the receiver position, obviously. So they went to cover three zone because they wanted to keep eight men in the box to defend the run. The problem was, as I stated earlier, is that then they just started running four verts on them because cover three zone is not good at defending four verts. This guy would run right past the second defender who's in that curl flat zone, and you would be able to just rocket it in there. Okay, because essentially what you do, again, the weakness of cover three zone or any zone coverage where it's spot drop going on is that you can get overloaded in different zones. So here we run off the corner here, we run off the corner here, and we create a 2-on-1 deal with the safety with these two seam routes running up the seam. So if he, floats over to the passing strength of the formation post snap while playing cover three zone, we can just rip it into this seam over here as soon as he passed the second level defender, right? So that's what the Steelers were doing. They were just putting the Browns in a world of hurt, and Nick Saban was the defensive coordinator, right? So they were forced to get out of single high. They couldn't play cover one or cover three, so they started playing two man, right? But again, there is no defense that defends everything. We went over that earlier in two man. The Steelers just started running all over them because, again, you had a soft box. That's one of the weaknesses of two man, right? So, again, that's the problem. When you run into a quarterback who knows the weaknesses, think about if there was a quarterback who knows the weakness of every single coverage and was able to identify the coverage pre-snap and check into the play that's best against that coverage. He would be a nightmare, right? Well, we had one of those. We had Peyton Manning. That's why he was so good. He would run that no huddle offense. He was good at diagnosing at like what you were running, and he knew the weaknesses of that coverage, and he would check into the play that's best at exploiting that weakness. That's why he was almost indefensible. Okay, so what you had to do to deal with something like that was to try to your best to disguise coverage and try to fool him into thinking that you're running one coverage when you were running something completely different. Okay, so you know what? I'm going to show you a play where that happened, where he was playing in the AFC Championship game in 2006, and he threw an interception to, what was that player's name? Asante Samuel. And it was because he thought it was cover one, and it ended up being a hybrid coverage that Bill Belichick had called. And I'll show you that now. Okay, so, I wish I could diagram what's going on here, but I'm just going to leave it at B. But essentially, they give a look as if they're playing cover one man or some type of single high defense. And Marvin Harrison's going to run almost like a curl, maybe even a hitch pattern. And, that would be good against the defense that they were trying to fool Manning into thinking that they're running. In single high defenses, a lot of times you get one-on-one on the outside because the corner doesn't have help over the top. So in instances like that, the corner, may give up a lot of space underneath, and they play a lot more passive when the receiver is threatening to run deep up the field because they don't want to give up that space behind them and get caught underneath, because if so, you'll give up a wide open touchdown, right? So the issue is, which I'll show later, is that they made it look like single high, but then post snap, the safety who was in the deep middle of the field flew over the top of Asante Samuel, and which awarded the Asante Samuel the ability to jump and play hard underneath because he has help over the top. He's not afraid of Marvin Harrison driving past him up the field because the safety's playing over the top. So they were playing deep half on this side and then singled up almost like cover zero over the top on this side. So the corner over here would have to be far more safe because if this guy gets behind him, it's going to be wide open, right? So when he threw, you're going to see it here, he's going to throw that pattern over here to Marvin Harrison. and Asante Samuel is just going to jump it super hard. And the commentator actually made a mistake into thinking that this was just superior ability by Asante Samuel. I guess he thought that it was cover one man or cover three, because essentially when a defense is playing that type of coverage, you won't see a corner jump a route like that because they're so cautious of giving up stuff behind them. So they're not going to be sitting flat and jumping stuff like that. Let's go ahead and run it.
If you play them that way, it's a 2nd and 7. And Manning's pass is intercepted. It's Asante Samuel going in untouched.
And you'll hear him.
That was intended for Marvin Harrison.
He'll talk about. Here it is.
I'm not sure it's not Champ Bailey, because they're looking like the same guy the last few weeks. And Samuel, watch.
Look at this safety here. You see how this looks like single high? This looks like some type of cover one man, maybe, or maybe he read cover three. Who knows? Either or. They want it to look like single high. And at the snap of the ball, watch how the safety flies over here to play like a deep half safety. Okay? And, you know, even looking at this, I noticed at the snap of the ball, Manning kind of got caught by just almost like eyeing down this side of the field. And maybe he didn't confirm. You know, post snap, you really should confirm. You know, the safety will confirm if it's single high. So you snap the ball, and if he, you know, stays deep middle and he kind of floats towards the hash, then you should know, okay, yeah, it's single high. But had he have snapped the ball and looked at the safety flying over the top, that should have been an alert to know that the corners know that they have help over the top and they can be far more aggressive on routes underneath. Okay, so you know, I wasn't in his head. I do know that this was not single high cover one type stuff. He was flying over the top, and it allowed the corner on that side to play very aggressive on routes underneath.
He diagnoses what Peyton Manning's going to do. It's one-on-one.
And it's not one-on-one. You heard him say that. He corrected himself later. You know what? I'm going to find that here.
And he just reacts to the football. Perfect angle to react to the pass and make the interception. Now, as I watch the replay, I got to take a little bit away from him because the safety did come over the top of him. So when that happens, Asante Samuel knows, hey, I can be a little more aggressive, because if he fakes me out and goes deep, somebody's there to help me out.
There you go. So, you know, after he watched the replay a couple of times, he noticed that it wasn't like some superior, you know, coverage ability. I mean, it's a good play, but, you know, he was able to make that play because of the scheme. Okay, that was just a brilliant scheme. Make it look like, you know, single high, cover one man. Make it look like you're one-on-one here and you have no help over the top. So, you know, a route like a hitch or curl, especially with Marvin Harrison threatening to run deep, you know, would typically be wide open, right? But then post-snap, it's completely different. It's cover two man, and you're able to just squat and sit on that route and jump it underneath. Okay, so like I said, like you have a quarterback like this who, when he sees a particular coverage, he knows the weakness of that coverage and he could check in and out of stuff to exploit it. So you can't really beat him by just playing straight up cover one, cover three, cover four man match, especially if you don't, you know, if he's able to diagnose what it is pre-snap. What you have to do in a lot of cases is disguise what you're doing, make it look one way, and it's actually something else, you know. Now you can beat him by playing straight up a coverage, and you know, maybe he knows what it is if you have superior talent. So you can, like the Bears, when they were playing cover two in the Super Bowl, I believe they got an interception on them. I believe pressure was an issue. Like in instances like that where you have superior talent up front, that's where cover two works, where you have a monster front four that can get pressure on the quarterback. Then it's a, you know, it's a tale of, it doesn't matter that you know we're playing cover two. We got you in a down and distance where you have to throw it, and we're going to get pressure, you know. So it doesn't matter that you know what we're running. We're going to get to you quicker than you can make decisions and for routes to develop deep down the field, right? So again, I mean, this is just an instance of, you know, if you run across someone who's destroying your defense no matter what you're in, it may be because they know what you're running, and you may have to start disguising and doing different things. So I want to get to I'll skip all this stuff. You know, we won't go over all this. We'll just get into a game where, you know, this is where you can get, you know, I think I recorded this maybe a month ago. Where it doesn't matter what your opponent is running because you know the weaknesses of those coverages and you can just check in and out of plays that exploit the weakness of that coverage. Or, you know, you have answers for that coverage within the play and you can just go to that play. So I'll show you an instance. This is where it's single high and I have a play to deal with that. You know, we're just going to stretch the underneath defenders and, you know, put a numerical advantage on our side and hit the open receiver. And you'll see that here. $10 yards. You see he dropped 8 in coverage. I think even 9. I think he took one of the guys from underneath. But again, we knew that he was in some form of cover 3 or cover 1, and we just exploited that. Here I'm running the spot concept. Not the spot, the snag concept, I guess you can say. And it's where we get a triangle read here. So you see how we get a triangle with these routes. And it's like a 3-on-2 deal. Because you're in single high and this guy's going to be running up the field, you know, you put a lot of pressure on the curl to flat player. He's going to have to make a decision on who he's going to defend. And whichever decision he makes, it will be the wrong decision as long as we throw to the right guy. Typically, you want this spot player to spot like on the outside hip of the curl to flat player so he can't get to the outside on the flat. All right? So post snap, the second I see the curl flat kind of playing up like that, you can just immediately get it to the flat. I do. 9 yards. So that's another concept maybe I'll go over in a different video. But again, he was in cover 3. So here I just go to inside zone, 2nd and 3. No luck there. And there I should have checked out. He's in, you know, a bare look up front. You know, he's got more in the box than I can block, so it was foolish of me to run that. So, but what I do notice is that this guy's just going to sit in cover 3, what seems. So now we can just go to plays to exploit cover 3. I think I'm even checking into, okay, I know what I'm checking into. But this is a good cover 3 beater. Play action. I threw to the least open guy pretty much. I could have hit him over the middle. I just don't like how Madden, you know, theoretically, I would almost always throw to this guy here. But sometimes I hate the fact that when I see a flash of the user right here and you make this throw, sometimes they warp and do like Superman ability and catch the ball. You know, I know you've seen that before and it just pisses you off, right? So I find myself now in a tendency to take the deep route when I see the user underneath. And I hate that I have to do that, but, you know, this Madden sucks. We fit it right in there. So here, I mean, we know that we're putting a high-low stretch on the second level defenders with that crossing route and the post pattern behind it. We just know the weaknesses of the defense. Here I check into, I have a play to get a wide open touchdown on cover 3 if the corner bites underneath. I don't think he did here, so I just threw to the flat. I did this motion to see how he reacts to motion. I noticed that he motioned the second level defenders in, so that's something to keep in mind. I didn't like what was transpiring over top, so I just checked it down. We picked up 8 yards. Or 5 yards. Okay, this is cover 0 blitz. Okay, I get that from the alignment of the safeties here. This looks like cover 0, how they're playing off. And remember the weakness of cover 0? Deep middle of the field if we can block it up. So we're blocking 6 actually. And the back will block after the play action fake. So if the blocking picks up, we can hit our post pattern over the top. As long as he runs a good move. And when I motion him out like this and I see the corner playing inside leverage, that's when I know it's man-to-man coverage. And it looked like he pressed the defenders. So I know it's cover 0 blitz. Just a beautiful throw. Let's just read, like, again, there is no defense that stops the pass, period. There's strengths of every defense. So, if you are playing defense, you want to know the strengths and weaknesses of every defense. So you know where you're weak and know where you're strong. And when you're the offense, you want to know where the weaknesses of every defense, so you can attack it, right? So this looks like some type of, that might have been a misclick, who knows? Well, that was cover 0. Or maybe that was deliberate. I don't know. This is inside zone split. I think I'm going to make a video on this. And that's where the M-man on the line of scrimmage is responsible to be picked up by this guy here. And, the design of the play is to get flow from the defense going this way, and for you to cut off this M-man on line of scrimmage and hopefully create a lane for your cutback run. It's not designed to go that way, but you want it to be an option. So if stuff is overplayed on this side and you like the cutback, you can always just cut back as a running back to the left side. But and then the rest of the team obviously is running inside zone, where you're trying to get a double team at the point of attack where you can, and combo block to the second level defenders. So I decided to go with that on this run. Unfortunately, number 57 made a good play and got off his block. But this is where you want to complement plays. So before, that play has this guy running across the motion post snap. So on this play, we have the same action, but we have an end around called. Right? So it's all about misdirection, being deceptive, that sort of thing. Remember, I want things to look the same, so I motion that guy out as I did before in the game. And we just pick up a touchdown here. So maybe I show a little bit more. This looks like cover 0, so I understand why I checked the double slants. Look at that. Inside. Help looks like it's inside. I can either go here or there, but this looks a little bit more open. Let's see what I did. Yeah, through backside. Again, one of the weaknesses of cover 0. Right? The short inside routes. And if you're able to get away from your corner, it's a touchdown. If you just get rid of the ball before you get there. This is cover 0 again. And remember what I told you. We block it up front. Deep middle of the field is wide open, and we throw that post pattern behind you. So I'll leave it at that. I won't go deeper into that. But, I just wanted to showcase to you, this guy's playing cover 0, cover 3. I think those were the only ones he played. He probably played some other coverages. Maybe I didn't get, recordings of that. But, when you know the weaknesses of those coverages, you can exploit it all day, right? So on the defensive side of the ball, if you find yourself dealing with someone like that, then you're going to have to make your defense look one way when it's actually something else. Either that or you have to get pressure, okay? Pressure is the answer to almost everything on defense in the passing game. So I don't care if I know you're playing cover 3. If I don't have enough time to exploit it, there's nothing I can do. So if you can design blitz packages that get at the quarterback, that can be the answer to your problem as well, to stop the pass. But, the game of football is a very intricate game where, there is no just easy answer to getting at the quarterback. You're going to have to figure out ways to get to the quarterback and that sort of thing. You're just going to have to do a lot of different things to mix things up against superior competition and, try to confuse your opponent. If you're playing against someone who doesn't understand the weaknesses and strengths of different things, then you can exploit them. Maybe you find a guy who you get to play two man all game because he doesn't understand how to attack it. So you can just get away with playing that all game and destroy him, right? So, that's it on that. I'll leave it at that, and hope you learned a little something.